Welcome to Room 101 at Harrigan Compound West. It's story time. So this week is a bit of an exercise in the stream of consciousness. I started thinking about the first pipe I ever had. It was a long time ago now. It was a Peterson with a very small bowl, so small that it was functionally useless, I think. At the time, it seemed like it'd probably be good enough. But I would smoke it, and I would only smoke Virginian tobaccos. That was the thing that I did. I figured that was the best option for anybody who owned a pipe, and that would just be that. Now, it got to the point where I wasn't really enjoying it all that much, and I found this online world of pipe smokers, and they all kept talking about English pipe tobaccos. And I thought, well, okay, that's probably a thing. Maybe I'll try that. I had this benefit that I would frequently find myself driving right past Boswell's Pipe Shop in Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. And I mean, this is just the luck of the draw, right? I was relatively poor living in Western Pennsylvania and small children, and we would take family vacations to Gettysburg every now and again because it seemed like a vacation, even though it was just another day in Gettysburg. And passing right by the Boswell shop was exactly the right thing because I would walk in, and before you know it, I was looking at pipes with much bigger bowls. I have a Boswell here, not the one that I bought back then, but we'll get to that one sooner or later. This one's filled with Dunhill Nightcap. Being in the evening, it seems better than early morning pipe. I have to maintain these sorts of things to have an internal logic in my life. But before long, I was smoking a lot of different things, right? It wasn't just the Dunhill stuff. And I've got probably 8 or so really top-notch favorite blends right now, and we'll get to them at some point. And I've got probably 40 or 50 open tins with other things that I'd like to get into. But I got back to the Nightcap earlier in the week, a couple of days ago, and I packed it away in 2004, so it's got some real age on it. And it tasted kind of like an old friend. I don't know how better to explain it than that. And I started thinking about friends and this sort of thing. This is why we're in the stream of consciousness, of course. And I thought about how different friendship is now than it once was, right? You used to be friends with your neighbors. At this point, I can say that I've lived in 4 or 5 houses in the last 20 years. I've known any of my neighbors, maybe save one. Somehow, friendship has become a little different. Community has become a little different. People get agitated about it, but I'm fine with it, largely because I have this group of friends now who I never meet, people who I've never spent any time with in the three-dimensional world. And one of them, a guy named Colin Ganley, hey Colin, how you doing? Last week sent me this here, a pound of the coffee that he makes at his company in Nicaragua, Twin Engines. And I'm going to leave a link to Colin's company in the notes below, so you can go check it out yourself. But when I got it, I really thought, hey, maybe I do have friends, even if I don't talk to them here in the real world all that much. But it was the coffee that dragged me in, and it was the coffee that had me remembering certain things from days gone by. I remember it was 1999, so some time back, that we packed up the car, I guess plural, 2 cars, and drove from Southern California, where I was in graduate school, up to northern Utah, just short of the Idaho border, where I took a job at Utah State University in Logan. And this was a strange place, right? Logan, Utah is a beautiful town, as you can see. It was quite idyllic. I don't think I've ever lived in a more beautiful place. I don't think a more beautiful place exists. And yet, I moved in and became an immediate outsider because I'm not a member of the dominant ruling Mormon class. And it's hard to overestimate just how important that is there. It's a strange place, right? Tobacco use frowned upon to the extent that almost no one smokes. Pipes, cigars, cigarettes, or otherwise. Alcohol, almost unavailable. Almost no one drinks. And here's where it got a little strange. I could make peace with all of that, I think, as lifestyle choices. But nobody drank coffee. And I thought that was just bizarre. I really can't understand how anybody goes on with human life without stopping for a cup or two in the morning. I don't really drag it out during the day, but a morning is not complete until the coffee is done, at least 2 cups. And that gives me the firepower to at least start the day, as difficult as that might be. And so it was. I lived in a house with my wife, and every day I would get up, I would drink my 2 cups of coffee, I would have a smoke or two on the back patio, I'd get in my car and I'd go to work. And so it went for a very long time. Well, a very long time, 3-4 months. And I had this class at the time, I forget, it was law and politics, I believe. And it was about 120 people in there. And they were all very nice, and it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. The students in Utah were easily the best students I've ever had. So any criticisms I have are balanced by this congratulatory note. They are world class, showed up ready for business every day, always did the work. Any professor would be happy to see that in his classrooms for the rest of his days. And it got a little strange, right? Because they were all so good, and I found myself getting kind of foggy in my head. And as the weeks went by, about 2 weeks went by, and it just got progressively worse. And it actually got so bad that I couldn't really see straight, especially in the mornings. My hands would shake, a little bit of tremor. And it just got worse and worse and worse. For the record, I'm back to the Dunhill Nightcap here. And it actually does taste like an old friend somehow. A taste I've been used to for about 20 years. Anyway, so I'm losing my mind in this class, and I'm the kind of guy who just doesn't like going to the doctor. I'll put that off as long as I possibly can. A gaping flesh wound would probably be required for me to walk into an emergency room. And yet, I was feeling so terrible that I finally went home, and I told the wife, I need to get a doctor's appointment. I need to see a doctor. And she said, oh my God, because, she knew that for me to say those words, something had to be dreadfully wrong. And she asked me what was going on, and I explained it to her. I said, a couple of weeks ago, I started feeling a little dizzy most of the time, and it's gotten so bad now that I can barely think. And she looked at me funny, the kind of funny that led me to believe she had done something terrible. And I said, what? And she got very sheepish. And she said, well, a couple of weeks ago, I started mixing your coffee with decaf in a 50-50 blend in the mornings. So I guess that's when you started feeling bad. I said, yep, I guess that's right. And she said, and then this week, I only gave you decaf. And it sounded exactly like the reason I thought I was dying. And I demanded to get real coffee back immediately, in which at that moment, my brain fog cleared and I felt great. It's amazing what a cup of coffee will do for you in the mornings and what it will do to you if you don't get it. I don't really want to say I'm a coffee addict, but maybe I am. It's a benign addiction, I suppose. So anyway, what does it all mean? I'm not sure I have the first idea. But one thought leads to another when you're sitting here in the desert. And it was kind of fun to remember this time, especially because what brought me back there was my friend Colin's gift of a pound of coffee, right? The kind of thing that you don't really think about when you grab it at the store, but when a human being makes it himself and has the desire to send you a little bit so you can taste what he works on all day, it was kind of nice. It's kind of moving. And it's damn fine coffee, so you should probably have a check. But really, it's about friends, and it always was. So too, my giant Boswell pipe filled with fantastic Dunhill tobacco. There's no need for me to review this. Everybody watching probably knows what this is and how wonderful it is. It's not my favorite anymore. It really was once for a lot of years. And there have been new things to come along, Balkan blends that we'll get to in further episodes, that are really complex and very, very delicious. But there's something about the Dunhill that every time I go back to it, it just feels like it's where I'm supposed to be. So that's my story for today. Whatever your story is, you should probably remember that there's not as much time left as you think. See you next week.
H-A-R-R-I-G-A-N spells Harrigan, proud of all the Irish blood that's in me.
I remember the first day I was there, I was wandering around downtown, taking a look at all the buildings, what have you, the storefronts. And I was smoking a cigarette at the time. We'll get into that on some other episode. And I was smoking, and it's a Saturday, and the streets are mostly empty. And this little kid, he couldn't have been more than 4, came running up to me, and about 3 feet away stopped and raised an accusing finger, and he said, "Mommy, he's going to hell." And I thought, well, that's a fine howdy-do for the first day here in town. And I saw the mother come storming up, and I figured, well, she's going to come and give him the business, something awful. And she grabbed his other hand and started to hustle him away from me. But before she did, she looked at me and said, "Yes, he is." So that was my introduction to Utah.